She stood beneath the spotlight, owning the room like we call it NovaSync. She, we? I sat near the back of the conference hall, heart hammering as my eyes scanned the screen behind her own slide after another, displaying the architecture, UI flow, and predictive engine. I had spent the last 18 months everything I built my code, my concept, my signature back-end design was now being presented as Emma Carlisle, my wife, my partner, or so. Next to her stood a man I didn't recognize. At first, tall, manicured beard, designer suit. The screen introduced him as Z.A.M. 3 months ago, I owned 51% of our company. F.R.A. My name is James Whitmore, 32, CTO. At least I used to be. Emma and I met 6 years ago during a hackathon in Austin. She was sharp, ambitious, magnetic. We started dating before the prototype was even done. We launched Novatech together, me behind the scenes, her in front of the cameras. People called us a tech power couple. Until today. As I stared at her under the spotlight, smiling like this was all hers, I felt something splinter inside me. Then I saw Lily. She was sitting alone in the corner, arms crossed, eyes fixed on me, my assistant, my only real confidant left. She wasn't clapping. She wasn't surprised. Our eyes locked for just a moment, and I knew she had seen this coming. I just hadn't listened. The applause was still echoing when I walked out. I didn't say a word, didn't wait for the QA. I just slipped out the back of the Marriott ballroom and into the hallway, trying to breathe through the weight crushing my chest. Emma's voice still rang in my ears. This platform redefines enterprise integration. Those were my words, copied verbatim from the pitch deck I wrote 6 weeks ago, stored in a private folder on our shared drive. Only I had access to it. Or so I thought. I made it to the parking lot before I heard footsteps behind me. Light, quick, then her voice. James. I turned around. It was Lily. She looked like she hadn't blinked in hours. Her blonde hair was tied back messily, and she was gripping her phone like it might break. I need to show you something, she said, pulling me toward her car. I didn't know how to bring it up before, but after what just happened, inside, she opened her laptop, connected her phone, and pulled up a folder labeled Transfers, Emma. My stomach dropped. Emails, attachments, files, all downloaded from my drive forwarded to a private Gmail address I'd never seen before. She used your login, Lily whispered, probably after you left it open in the office. The timestamps were clear. 3 weeks ago, right before she asked me to restructure the company for the upcoming seed round, she was already planning to cut you out, Lily said, barely able to look me in the eye. I stared at the screen. The betrayal was so obvious now, so orchestrated, and I had been too blind or too trusting to see it. She even reached out to Kinetic Ventures without telling you, Lily added. Pitched them the platform alone. I swallowed hard. Kinetic was our biggest potential backer. She's going to launch NovaSync under a new LLC, Lily said. She filed it last Friday. Everything stopped. My company, my work, my wife, gone. But then Lily looked at Minot with pity, but with a quiet kind of fire. You don't have to let her get away with this. And in that moment, for the first time in days, I remembered what resolve felt like. The elevator ride to our apartment felt like standing in a coffin. I had replayed it, all the emails, the missing meeting invites, the cold looks, the delayed dinners, signs I ignored, clues I buried because I believed in her more than I believed in facts. Emma was already home. She stood barefoot in the kitchen, sipping white wine, her silk blouse untucked, the same one she wore to the pitch. She didn't look surprised to see me, not even guilty. Didn't think you'd stay for the whole presentation, she said. Setting the glass down like this was any other Tuesday. I didn't speak. I just walked over, opened my laptop, and set it on the counter. The folder Lily had shown me blinked on screen. Transfers, Emma. She glanced at it, then looked me in the eye. So that's what this is. I waited for the apology, the excuse, the regret. None came. You're brilliant, James, she said calmly, like we were having a post-mortem. But you never know when to move. You obsess. You hesitate. I couldn't wait forever while you perfected something that needed to launch yesterday. My throat clenched. This was our company, I said, my voice low. We started it in a one-bedroom apartment with 2 laptops and a dream. She smiled faintly, and I delivered that dream. Investors don't fund potential. They fund momentum, and I gave them that. It wasn't rage I felt. It was cold, clean, final. You filed a new LLC, I said, with Zach Brennan. You pitched NovaSync as your own. You even forged my name on the IP transfer. She didn't flinch. It was easier than waiting for you to catch up. I stepped back, nodded once. Thank you, I said. Her brow arched. For what? For reminding me what kind of person you really are. I left without another word. Back in my car, I called Lily. You were right, I said. She didn't gloat, just waited. I want to fight back, but not with revenge, I added. I want to build again. Better, from scratch if I have to. There was silence. Then her voice, steady as always. Then let's start tonight. Emma's empire looked untouchable on the outside slick branding, investor buzz, tech articles hailing her as the next Jobs minus the turtleneck. But 2 weeks in, cracks began to show. NovaSync's beta rollout was rushed, buggy. Half the features I hadn't finished because I knew they weren't stable were live in production. Clients started complaining about false positives in the DataSync engine. Uptime dropped, support tickets piled up, and Emma? She deflected, blamed interns, blamed legacy code. She even blamed me, told investors I'd left her with a broken foundation. But I had the receipts. I had every Git log, every commit, every email. I didn't need to blast it publicly. I just sent it quietly to 2 people I knew would care, Kinetic Ventures and the general counsel of our former board. Lily watched me from across her kitchen table, her laptop open beside mine. You're not angry, she said. You're focused. I nodded. I don't need to burn her down. She's already on fire. Then I slid a sketchpad toward her. It was a rough idea. A pivot, not NovaSync 2, but something cleaner, leaner. A system that didn't just connect data, but predicted behavior across platforms. Lily's eyes widened. This is better. And it's ours, I said. For the first time in weeks, I saw something in her eyes I hadn't allowed myself to feel. Hope. We didn't have capital. We didn't have a brand. But we had something Emma never understood. Quiet resilience in each other. While NovaSync stock tumbled in early chatter forums, Lily and I worked in silence. Her marketing instincts were razor sharp. My codebase, once buried under bureaucracy, now moved freely. We launched under a dummy name, Whitefield Labs. No fanfare, no press release. But within a week, our beta had 5 clients, all of them, former NovaSync partners who had quietly jumped ship. By the end of the month, we had revenue. And Emma? She was being investigated for breach of IP, falsified cap table documents, and contract fraud. She tried calling me once. I didn't answer. Most startups begin in coffee shops or garages. Ours began in Lily's dining room. Her place was small and old craftsman house just outside Austin, with creaky floors and a rescued golden retriever named Boone who never left my side. There was no whiteboard wall or espresso bar, just stacks of notebooks, a secondhand printer, and a fold-out table that became our war room. And yet, in that space, everything felt real again. Every day we pushed code, built strategy decks, refined the pitch. She handled outreach, refined branding, coordinated meetings. I worked late into the night, polishing the predictive engine this time. Faster, leaner, smarter. Not once did she ask for credit. Not once did she ask for ownership. She just showed up every day. One night, around 2 a.m., I looked up from my screen and found her asleep on the couch. Boone curled at her feet, laptop still glowing on her lap. Her browser was open to a Google Sheet titled Funding Priorities. James. That's when it hit me. She wasn't in this for equity. She wasn't chasing an exit. She believed in me. For the first time in months, I felt something warm crack through the ice I'd been living under. Gratitude. And something else I wasn't ready to name. By week 4, Whitefield Labs had doubled its early clients. Not from marketing, but referrals. We didn't just fix their data issues. We gave them something NovaSync had promised but never delivered. Peace of mind. Everyone's asking who's behind this, Lily said one afternoon. We can't stay anonymous forever. Then let them know, I replied. It's us. You and me. She blinked. You sure? I nodded. We're partners. In every sense that matters. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she smiled, quiet and sure. And I realized I just meant every word. We didn't plan for it to be public, but the world was watching anyway. It started with a tweet just one. A well-known CTO from a Boston analytics firm posted, Whitefield Labs just solved in 3 weeks what we spent 6 months failing to crack. Who are these people? The thread exploded. Within 48 hours, we had calls from 3 venture funds, a podcast invite, and 2 acquisition offers, all of which we declined. And for the first time since this began, I wasn't hiding anymore. At Lily's suggestion, we published a Medium post, built from the ashes. How quiet integrity beats loud deception. It wasn't bitter. It wasn't petty. It just told the truth. Within hours, our inbox was flooded. But what no one expected was that Emma showed up. It was at the Austin Tech Foruma, local industry event we used to attend together. Whitefield Labs had a booth this year, just a modest display between 2 AI giants. Lily stood beside me, confident, polished, the way I'd always imagined we'd present. Except now it was her beside me, not Emma. I saw her the moment she walked in. Emma Carlisle, in all white, flanked by a new PR rep, face unreadable. She didn't look at Lily. She looked straight at me. I didn't expect you to bounce back so fast, she said under her breath as we shook hands for the crowd. I smiled, calm, focused. I didn't bounce, I replied. I rebuilt. Her eyes narrowed. You always were better at the long game. No, I said. I just finally stopped playing yours. Before she could respond, a photographer waved us over. I turned to Lily and extended my hand not to shake but to hold. Founders, the photographer said, clicking. You 2 built this? Lily glanced at me searching for permission. I nodded. Yes, she said. We did. By the end of the week, NovaSync's board issued a statement. Emma Carlisle was stepping down pending investigation into intellectual property violations. The empire she stole was burning. And the future we built? Just catching fire in all the right ways. The news broke on a Wednesday morning. NovaSync under internal audit amid IP fraud allegations. Emma Carlisle steps down as CEO. Insiders claim key tech was never hers to begin with. The headlines didn't mention me. They didn't have to. Everyone in the industry already knew who built NovaSync's core engine. Everyone had seen our launch, our numbers, our integrity. Emma tried to play damage control, claimed it was a miscommunication, that I had stepped away voluntarily, that we had a falling out, but the legal documents said otherwise. The forensic audit showed exactly when the files were accessed. The timestamp on her forged signature, right after our anniversary dinner. She hadn't just betrayed the company. She'd betrayed me. Lily and I were sitting on the rooftop of her house, laptops open, Boone resting between us, when her phone buzzed. It's from Emma, she said, frowning. She wants to meet. One-on-one. I stared at the skyline. I didn't owe her a meeting, not a minute of my time. But I went anyway. We met at the same cafe where we signed our first investor term sheet 2 years ago. She was already there, sunglasses on, posture tight. You won, she said quietly, not looking at me. I didn't win anything, I replied. I just didn't quit. There was a long silence. Then she reached into her bag and slid a manila folder across the table. Legal documents. A signed confession. Full retraction of her claims to NovaSync's original architecture. her request to settle quietly. I don't want to go to court, she said. I just want this to be over. I nodded. Me too. Then I stood up. She didn't ask for forgiveness, and I didn't offer it. But I did say one thing before I walked away. Build something of your own next time. It's harder, but it's worth more. Later that night, I walked into our office and found Lily working late. She looked up, eyes soft, unsure. How did it go? I smiled, tired but free. Like closure, I said, the quiet kind. The sun was just starting to rise over Austin, casting long amber streaks across the polished concrete floors of our office. Our office, not Novatech, not Novasync, Whitefield Labs, built from silence, grown in the shadow of betrayal, but standing now tall, real, and ours. I walked in holding 2 coffees and a brown paper bag from the bakery around the corner. Lily was already at her desk, hair pulled back, hoodie draped over the back of her chair, completely focused on the analytics dashboard glowing in front of her. She looked up, smiled, and pushed her laptop aside. "You're early," she said. "You're earlier." I handed her a coffee. "You forgot to eat dinner last night." Her smile deepened as she took the bag. "You remember too much. Only what matters." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, "It still doesn't feel real sometimes," she said quietly. "How we got here. What we went through to get this back." I sat down across from her. "It's real," I said, "because we built it for the right reasons. Not to prove something, not for revenge, but because we believed in something better." She looked at me differently then, not like a colleague, not like a partner, but like someone who has seen every part of me broken, burned, rebuilding, and stayed. I reached across the table, took her hand. "I wouldn't have survived this without you," I said. "And I don't want to build anything else without you either." Her fingers tightened around mine. She didn't blush. She didn't laugh. She just nodded once and whispered, "Then don't." 3 months later, Whitefield Labs was profitable, private, and respected. Emma's name faded from headlines. Her confession never went public. We kept our part of the agreement, not because she deserved it, but because we were already looking forward, not back. And as I stood on that same rooftop where we once coded through the night, watching Lily sketch our next product idea in a leather notebook, I finally understood. Some people will love you for what you have. Others will stay when you have nothing. And those are the people you build your life with. She didn't just help me rebuild a company. She helped me rebuild myself. And this time nothing was getting stolen.